amendments, okay? And the way we did this, then if you watch, then you know what's going to happen here today is you guys, I don't know if you started your own sheet of paper with 27 on it, okay? But if you haven't, you in your notes, just go to a new page and number 1 to 27, okay? And then I'm going to give you guys each a number. And you're going to find your amendment in the book. And on your paper, you're going to condense your amendment, the most important part, and into one line. Okay? And then I'm going to check it. And once I approve what you have written, you're going to write it on the board. And then everybody at the desk is going to write down what's on the board, because what's on the board is going to look very similar to what is on the text. Okay? So yesterday we got through 6. Now I have 16 people in there, so we did, you'll have to watch the video to get the other 16, the ones that we don't do. Okay? Obviously, we're going to start with 6 yesterday. Monday, we'll get through 7 through 17 in the other class. Okay? And we may finish this today because these go pretty fast. I spent quite a bit of time talking about the Bill of Rights. Okay, I spent time talking about like the 4th Amendment, illegal search and seizure, and so forth. Some of you guys saw the video, I'm sure. Okay, because you guys do your job, right? You guys do your job and watch the video, right? Like my first hour, nobody had a freaking clue what I was doing from yesterday. Okay. I don't know. I shamed them, but I can't force it.
Wait, you were live yesterday morning at this time?
Yeah.
Because I joined at 9:45 and it wasn't on. Like I joined and I was the only one there.
I joined at like 9:50, but it wasn't on.
It wasn't on?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then I was like, oh, it's not doing it today. And usually it alerts my phone and it didn't.
That's what mine did too. I didn't get the alert I usually do.
Well, I did it real late. So, like, because it was a Wednesday. Right? Yesterday was Wednesday. And so I had to create a new one. And I did it like right at like 9:40. I sent the invitation.
Okay. Wait,
so it wasn't automatic.
The day 5?
I think I just called it amendments.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's posted now on YouTube.
It is posted.
Okay, good.
And you guys, you can fast forward too, because like, it's just on the screen. It's not following me, so you can see when people start coming up and writing, and then me talking about them. So you can kind of fast forward. It won't take the whole time. Okay. Sorry. All right. So everybody ready? Got 27. Got a piece of paper. In your book, there's a section on the amendments. Okay. So remember your number when I give you your number. Okay. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. You got one, yeah. I'll do 27. Okay.
21 and 23.
19, so
Yeah, but you got 21.
where are they? In the
Oh, is that
19?
you?
Yes. Okay, I met your mom last night.
How was she?
Nice.
You really have
No, my parents never finished. I'm already done.
You're done.
I didn't know.
Okay, you're going to use the official term.
Yeah, 2 words, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Now, 17 we've talked about. I don't know if you remember that. Of these, are any of them difficult? 20.
You're not number 22.
18's easy, right? You have 20, Corey? You can figure it out. I'm talking about history. You're not history yet.
I don't know what's happening.
What is happening? What's
I'm
wrong?
trying to find a page, that's all.
Okay, sorry, I'm bothering you.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Ooh, is this, prohibition?
Is it?
Is it just the top one is?
Okay.
Can you put this art on?
So,
What I did- put it on top of the box.
John asked first present to give him, I didn't have a chance to do that. So, he left Boston and the other thing to see how he did it. On course. And so did like his cabinet, people had to come from far away. So the election's always held the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November on even number of years every 4 years. This is the third this year, right? So the president used to take office on March 4th, right? So you have November, December, January, February. You have 4 months between the election and when they take office. And they needed that time for transportation. By 1933, did this. They had cars and planes. So they said, we need to shorten that time. So let's say Joe Biden is, that period between the election and Biden takes office, Donald Trump is a leader. That's what they call him. Then we're having cowards, even though everybody voted for the president. So 4 months of lame duck government is not good. So they shortened it on the president's inauguration. So that's what this is about is the inauguration changes March. Congress, they moved their day up to what's on the president. So it's called a lame government. Changes inauguration to January. How are we doing?
No person. I'm confused about the 2 years of his term.
Okay,
Is that?
this is fun. So, two-term limit. Terms for president.
And it was 4 years at that time.
Well, so every presidential term is 4 years, but they can only serve 2 terms.
Oh, okay.
2 terms. You think you got it?
Maybe.
Say it.
Is it prohibition?
Yeah. Prohibition of what? Yeah, right there. Yes. What you got? Yeah. So to just, we're gonna make this easy, we're gonna call it presidential succession amendment. Okay. Well, 25 is not up there. Not yet.
I was doing routine.
I'm
literally dying.
We don't write it.
Yep, the district is.
I spell that wrong.
Which is what.
I was like, is there something I'm missing? Yeah, I was doing
Prior to that.
14, so.
You got it?
And the prohibition.
A repeal of.
Repeal of prohibition.
All right, we're almost there, people. So at your desk, write these down. Looks like you guys are doing that. And then I'm gonna explain. Yo,
So if someone wants to like overturn an amendment, like your little group for the
Uh-huh.
second amendment, you like just take it out or you just reword it that says it's different?
Okay, so, so we have that with these two, right? 21st repealing the 18th.
You have to add.
So the 18th is part of the Constitution. We count as amendments. So if you ask the question, how many amendments are there? Well, there's 27, but really only 26 are applicable because 18's been repealed, right? So it's kind of like it's just crossed out. But yeah, it was a thing. We should remember it because it was a really bad idea. We don't want to repeat history. Guys. Okay, if you can't read 17, it says Senate elected or chosen by the people. Remember this? We talked about this with the Great Compromise, yes? Where with the Great Compromise, state legislatures would elect the Senate. It became more democratic with the 17th Amendment, allowing direct election, okay? Which was, in my opinion, a bad idea. Okay, so was 18. One of the dumbest things we ever did as a nation was take something that the majority of the American people did, and many thought was okay in moderation, and made it illegal. So you created a whole new class of criminals, people that were breaking the law. It's kind of like speed limits. Okay, people don't respect speed limits, right? Some of you. I'm an offender, okay? It didn't work well. Now we talked about this in history class. We'll get to that next semester for most of you. Now, who do we blame for this? For the 18th Amendment. Okay. All right. Who pushed for this?
It was the education system. The education system pushed the idea that alcohol was like an evil.
It was the devil's juice. Yeah. The women were behind this. The women's temperance movement. Mm-hmm. Now you can blame women, but you can blame their husbands for listening to them and passing this. This was stupid. Okay?
But like, didn't women do it because they were being?
Yes.
So like it'd be the
Men were behaving badly.
So it's the man's fault.
Yes.
That's right. Okay.
Okay. So women get the right to vote in 1920. Okay, that's the first election they're going to vote in is 1920, and the first president they're going to elect is a guy named Warren G. Harding. Okay. So a long time coming. Okay. After World War I, obviously when we had massive amounts of young men and men going into the military, women really stepped up and helped the cause at home. And President Wilson came out in support of this amendment after the war. So this happened right after World War I. Okay. The 20th Amendment, okay, as I was explaining to Tori, the first president to live in the White House was John Adams. And to get there, he had to ride his horse from Boston, okay, which could take him a few days, okay, to get there. But then all of his cabinet and everything, to set up the new government, they used to take office on March 4th. Okay, so our elections are held on the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November on even numbered years every 4 years. Got that? Okay. So you would have from November 3rd this year, okay, to March 4th, 4 months. That's a long time. Now, what we do is we call the president that's leaving office, say Biden were to win. Trump would be a lame duck from November 4th, okay, until January 20th, not really having any real power. Same thing with Congress. An outgoing Congress, they're waiting for new members to come in. Let's say the Democrats win back control of the Senate. Okay, the Senate's going to be a lame duck Senate. So they shorten that time period to January 20th, okay, shortening the lame duck period. Okay, so the 20th Amendment changes inauguration to January 20th. Okay, 18, it's not legal to drink. 21, it is. Now, this has nothing to do with drinking age, you understand that? Yeah.
I thought I heard Mr. Ferris last year saying something about like, in the land of period, do the presidents try to get anything passed they can, or does nothing get passed?
Oh, they will try. It depends on who controls Congress. I mean, one of the things that gotta get done is this relief package for COVID. That's been, sitting there, just, they can't get together and, compromise. And so I think after the election, you'll probably see that probably come through, some form. And then this is the time, if you have a lame duck president, you'll see the pardons, the presidential pardons and commutations, because they don't have to stand for election again. So whatever criticism they get from that, it is what it is. Okay. So yeah, there is some activity, at the end, but it makes sense to shorten that. We have planes and cars now and so forth. Okay. So 21st Amendment, we had prohibition from 1919 to 1933, okay, in this country. What a mess, okay? Now, Roosevelt, his first term in 1932, FDR was elected, okay? He took office on March 4th, okay? In 1936, when he was reelected, he took office on January 20th. So he had a shorter term. His first term was a little bit shorter. Okay. Now, when he was elected in 1940, people said, wow, this is the first president we've ever had elected more than twice. And then guess what? He was elected again in 1944. People were like, holy cow, people must really like him. And they did. But there were a lot of people that didn't either. Same. So after he died in 1945, they said, you know what? We're not going to do this again. We're going to do what George Washington set the precedent as. After 2 terms, a peaceful transition of power. And so we're going to put a term limit on our presidents. Okay? And that's 22 terms. 2, 2, 2. Gave us some nice mnemonic devices there. All right. Oh. Okay. Anybody that's ready can go. And does anybody need help? Who's got 26?
Me.
Okay, you got it. 24?
Actually, Article 14, and then I just.
Okay. Yeah, so what kind of tasks do we call these tasks? Yeah.
Hey, actually,
so,
did you get 22?
That's
So
all
I
you
should
do,
say
right?
no for that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I did. What was it? I couldn't see it.
Yeah.
It was
I
2
did.
terms for president.
Because it's kind of
Okay.
interesting.
Okay. So I'm writing more than 3 words.
What's that?
I'm writing a couple, not just 3
Yeah.
words. Okay.
Well, no, I mean, you can write 3 words. In red.
And I was gonna do that, and I said no.
It fits the theme of the day. Okay. I'll let you guys write these down for a second, and then I'll talk about them.
Can you read them all?
Can I read them? Can you not see them?
It's like
Is that what
blurry.
they're blurry? Okay. 23. Electoral College for the District of Columbia. Number 24, no poll tax. 25 is presidential succession. 26 is 18 to vote. Okay, guys, the people that live in the District of Columbia, in our nation's capital, our seat of government, okay, prior to the 23rd Amendment, because of the use of the Electoral College, DC is not a state. So they don't have any members of the House. They don't have any senators. Therefore, that's how we determine how many electors the state has, is the number of members of House and Senate. Yes? We know this. So prior to this, people in DC didn't have the right to vote for president and vice president. Okay? In fact, to this day, they have taxation without representation. Okay? So this is going to give DC 3 electoral college votes. Based on their population, they would get 1 member of the House, and they would get 2 senators, because every state does. They get 3 electoral college votes. Kind of rhymes, 23 DC, 3. Okay? All right, 24, poll taxes. Okay? Now, this is how poll taxes used to work. And they didn't do them in every state. But this was a system that was set up to suppress poor voters, okay? And because minorities were disproportionately poor in the South, this is where we saw these poll taxes quite often. Now, what they would do to try and suppress voting is they would make it difficult to register to vote. So you can only register to vote on the first Tuesday of every month between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. at City Hall, okay? Now, what are most people doing between 8 and 9 a.m.? Working. So people would have to get time off, or they would risk losing their jobs to go register to vote. You understand? They made it very difficult, and they didn't publicize this. You know what I mean? You had to like find out when I could register, and they would change the times and stuff like that. Okay, so it was ominous, to say the least. When you went to register, you would have to pay a tax, okay, a poll tax. Now, the voting age used to be 21. So if you were 21 years old and you went to register to vote in Birmingham, Alabama, okay, and you had to pay the poll tax. But if you didn't register at 21, you didn't register at 23 when there was another election, and you waited until you were 25 to register, you would have to pay retroactively the poll taxes for when you were 21 and 23. Because elections are held every 2 years on even numbered years, okay? Congressional election, midterm elections, gubernatorial elections, and so forth, okay? So if you waited until you were 27, you know what I mean? So this made it very expensive for people to register, especially as like we start to move into the 1950s and 60s, where we're starting to see, you know, push against these types of voter suppression, where they're trying to get African Americans registered to vote and so forth. And so the Congress finally said, okay, we need to put an end to this. And so they passed a constitutional amendment which would prevent certain states from doing this any longer, okay? In 1970, with the Voting Rights Act of 1970, they got rid of literacy tests, where you would have to be able to read in order to vote, okay? So today, there's no literacy requirement to vote, okay? So that's an important piece of change. Yes?
The Literacy Act, if they can't read, how are they supposed to be good informed citizens?
Well, by listening.
Because they didn't really have, or I don't know, maybe they did have.
What, like radio and stuff?
Yeah, did they have that?
Yeah. By the 20s. Everybody had a radio by the mid-20s. Most people could afford a radio. No, I mean, we're a pretty literate country, okay? But you may have some immigrants and some people in some very poor communities where, you know, children are working on farms and not being educated. There's probably, you know, like I said, we have pretty high literacy rates, but if they gave you a test to, to read to see if you were literate, they could make that pretty difficult. You know what I mean? It's shenanigans. Okay. All right. 25th Amendment. Okay. There's two things here. We'll talk about this in history as well. You have the Presidential Succession Act of 1947. Okay. By 1947, 7 presidents had died while they were in office. Okay. And the 25th Amendment is going to try and clarify the process of transition power from a president can no longer serve to the vice president. Okay, so it kind of clarifies that process. All right. What it does do a little bit as well is it explains to you that when a president is incapable of acting as president. Now, we know President Wilson, in the last year of his presidency, suffered a series of strokes. Okay. And it's pretty well documented that his wife, the first lady, was signing his name for him. Okay. Under the 25th Amendment, that would not be allowed to take place any longer. So here's one of the rules. If the president wanted to resign from office, okay, and I'll explain this again when we get to the executive branch, but if he wanted to resign from office and was unable to do so in writing, then we know they're unfit to be president. Okay, so if they couldn't sign their own resignation letter, they would not be, eligible to serve. So if the cabinet, there's 15 cabinet members, okay? If a majority of the cabinet feels the president is unfit to serve, they can vote, okay? Now, the president can appeal that decision, and Congress has, I think, 30 days to decide whether the cabinet is correct or not, okay? So those are things that are kind of discussed and laid out in the 25th Amendment, okay? The Presidential Succession Act of 1947 changes the order of ascension. So you got president and vice president. The way it stood before 1947 is the Secretary of State would become president after the vice president. Okay, Secretary of State is not an elected official. They're appointed. And so to make us more democratic in 1947, they switched and put 2 people above Secretary of State. They put the Speaker of the House and the Senate President pro tempore, who's the longest serving member of the majority party in the Senate. So it goes President, Vice President, Speaker, Senate President pro tempore, then to the Cabinet, Speaker of the House, to the Cabinet, to the Secretary of State, then to the Secretary of Treasury in the order they were created. So the last in line would be Secretary of Homeland Security, which was the last cabinet department created after 9/11. Okay. So when they have the State of the Union address, they built a whole TV show out of this, right? What was that show called? The Designated Survivor. So when they have the State of the Union address, when the president speaks in front of Congress in January every year, you've got the president, the vice president, Speaker of the House, all within like 5 feet of each other. Okay. And then you have cabinet members in there. You've got the Senate in there, right, and the House. And if a bomb went off in the Capitol building and killed all those people, you got one cabinet member that doesn't go to the speech and is the designated survivor. Okay. And that's a TV show. I think they've got like at least 3 or 4 seasons. Anybody watch that? I watched the first couple episodes.
So 2 questions. One, so it goes president, vice president, speaker of the House. If the House is the opposite party, it would switch.
Yeah, well, said president, vice president died at the same time. The Speaker of the House would assume, doesn't matter what party.
And is the designated survivor always a different?
Oh, the designated survivor would generally be of the same party as the president, because he
But
gets.
it's not always the same, like Secretary of Homeland Security or something.
Oh, the person they leave out? Yeah, sometimes Secretary of the Interior, which I think in the TV show, it's Secretary of the Interior that's the designated survivor that year. Okay. And there may be more than one cabinet member that doesn't go, but there's at least one that has to stay away. 26, okay, 2 plus 6 equals what? 18 to vote. Okay, guys, we were sending young men off to war, and drafting them. Okay, we did this in World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam. Drafting them into the military at the age of 18. And they couldn't even vote for the leaders that were drafting them. That doesn't make sense to me. And it didn't make sense to the country. So they changed it. Okay, to 18. Now, there are those out there that want to go to 16. Okay, which I think is a crazy, stupid idea. Okay. You talk about education system, right? On prohibition. Yeah. Okay. Young people, first of all, are not very informed and way too emotional. And way too, what's the word I'm looking for?
Subject to authority.
Yeah. Yeah, they can be manipulated. Yeah. So, a lot of us can be manipulated. Okay. But anyhow, that is the 26th, okay? Now, I do have an issue, okay? This is how I feel. I'm just going to say it, okay? If we can have people join the military at the age of 18, okay, and go serve in Iraq or Afghanistan or somewhere else off in the world, okay, in Germany or Japan or wherever they get based, maybe be in combat. And that 18-year-old can't drink a beer? Are you freaking kidding me? That's like the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
18 plus high school
Join
diploma.
that cult, get a cult for that and get
Yeah.
one and reward it.
18 plus high school diploma.
I just, and now they can't even, smoke a cigarette or get a dip because they're not 21. Okay. I have issues with these things. Okay. But that's just me. All right. You might think it's a good idea. I know the brain is still developing at 18. Okay. But is that stopping anybody from drinking? You don't have to answer that question. Okay. Now, 27th Amendment. I'm going to save this one for me. Okay. Because this one was actually proposed. Did we talk about the Equal Rights Amendment in here? Okay, stay tuned for tomorrow when we do the 14th Amendment, okay? Because ladies, I've got some really important information for you on this, okay? And how women are protected or not protected under the Constitution, okay? When it comes to equal rights, all right? So, the Bill of Rights was proposed in 1789, okay? Now, most amendments since then have had what's called a sunset period. When the sun sets, no longer can this proposed amendment be ratified. So remember, 2 ways to propose an amendment, 2 ways to ratify an amendment, okay? So, in 1789, they proposed 12 amendments. Okay? In 1791, 10 of them were ratified by the states. Those became known as the Bill of Rights. Okay? One of these 2 amendments that was not ratified, there was no 7-year time limit on these. So these 2 amendments have been floating around in constitutional purgatory for more than 200 years. Okay? In 1986, there was a college student at the University of Texas that wrote a paper for his political science class saying that this amendment should have been ratified along with the original Bill of Rights. The student got a C on the paper and was not happy about it. The professor mocked it. And so this student, Gregory Watson, who understood that this amendment had no sunset date, took it upon himself to go around to state legislatures across the country to get this amendment ratified. And in 1991, the 27th Amendment was ratified. And what it says is that congressional pay raises cannot go into effect until an election takes place. Now, who sets the pay for Congress? Congress. So if they want to give themselves a big pay raise, that pay raise cannot go into effect until after an election. Meaning, we can vote the bums out of office before they get paid. That's a good story. Gregory Watts is the guy's name. Okay, can't go into effect until an election takes place. Amendment we have, guy. What time will we get out here? So I don't have time to talk about what I was going to talk about the 14th Amendment. Chances are we got through 6 yesterday. We go pretty fast. 9, 10, 11, 12. 12's easy. 13, 14. 13's all right. Easy. Yeah, hopefully I have time to discuss that on Monday, okay? It's just this time. I don't know. I want to spend some time on the election too. And the election's Tuesday. You guys are going to be here on what? Tuesday? You'll be here Tuesday, right? What would you prefer? Would you prefer I just do a quick video going over the amendments, and then Monday and Tuesday in class, there would be no video, and I just do election stuff with everybody? And I'll just put together a video for the amendments.
Yes.
Okay? And I can go through that fairly quick. But I really, ladies, I want you to pay attention to this because some of you will change when you leave here, okay? And you will become, some of you may become radical feminists and so forth, like I've had with former students of mine. And I just want you to understand how the system is set up and the reasons why we have what we have, as far as how women are treated under the Constitution, gender-wise, okay? And it's fairly complicated, but it'll make sense to you when I talk about it, okay? So I do have it on video from first hour because I talked about it today, this morning. But I'll get all that worked out and get you the amendments. I'll put them up on the board. Maybe I can do that during my plan period, 6 hours a day. Okay, I'll make a video going through 6 through 16. 6 through 16. Okay, and I'll label it that and post that for you. Monday we'll relax. We'll talk about the election. I've got a fun website that we can go to and play around with the Electoral College, look at the polls, and I can even talk about polling a little bit, which will foreshadow some stuff we covered in the next chapter. What's going to end up happening, guys, we're going to run out of time, okay? So what's probably going to end up happening is I'm going to start providing the notes for you. Okay, now I will go over the notes, but I'm going to go over them probably quite a bit quicker. Okay? Is it quicker or is it more quickly? Can I say quicker? Yeah, I'll go over them quite a bit quicker. Okay, more quickly.
More quickly is an adverb. But here's the verb.
That was first answer.
The adverb.
Yeah, I missed that year in school. Okay, so yeah, I mean, when we get to the branches, guys, It's pretty cut and dry, okay? How the legislative work, how the executive works, how the judicial works, okay? So we'll have to speed through some of that. How many of you guys have books for your book review so far for this class? Okay, good. Okay, start thinking about that. What's the due date?
November 24th.
24th. I had some parents last night, and I have the history book review in the. I've got the date set and everything, and I was looking for it in the government one. I'm like, what date? And I couldn't find my stupid agenda book, and so I was like, it's late November. Now, is that before Thanksgiving break?
Yes.
So I can grade them. Okay. Now, my people that have history, who has history too? None of you? Okay. I have, I think, 2 in second hour and the other half that have me for history too. So they're getting a little extension because they have a book review for history due on November 8th. Okay. Right? That's not you either. Hey, you guys can sign out. Take care.
What?
Have a good weekend. Bye, Ashley.
Bye.
See, Brad?